Romans 8 verse 6. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace.
Pastor Wind, the relationship between decisions of faith and the growth of inner content is evident from God's guidance. This often leads to results that are different from the initial expectations. For example, in preparing for a significant trip up north and addressing the millennium bug, as well as sharing information about oxygen therapy. When God first gave you a seed thought, you might have had certain expectations and calculated the direction of things. However, the results often brought about pressure and setbacks. So, do you view these difficulties as opportunities for the growth and development of faith, thus enabling us to easily overcome various challenges?
Actually, I was someone who didn't emphasize logic much. Even though I liked reading detective novels and magazines when I was young, I found it troublesome to reason and think in reality. When I studied computer science in Canada, I discovered I had a talent for this area. Additionally, at that time, computers were becoming popular, and everyone was learning to use a mouse. I was excited about this new technology. When I went to Canada to study, I faced many new things. Therefore, before handling each matter, I calculated the cost and the time it would take to complete it. For example, one morning, if you suddenly feel unwell, you would typically evaluate your condition to determine whether you need to see a doctor immediately, or if resting for a few days will lead to recovery. You would continuously assess the cost of dealing with this matter, the expected responses, your current progress, and so on. This is all very human. However, God moved me to do things such as driving across Canada alone. I often only knew the starting point, not the ending. The reason is that the ending was far more terrifying than I could have imagined. If I had known the ending early on, I would indeed have been scared and fled. Indeed, when sharing information about oxygen therapy, if I had known early on that it would result in persecution from the entire world, including Hong Kong, would not have considered sharing it. Whether it is for my own safety, or for the sake of my family and brothers and sisters in the church, I would have definitely given up and not shared it. Because people outside do not deserve to hear my sharing, I would instead only share it with the brothers and sisters in the church. Yes, people outside are unworthy. Those who attacked me at the time, they are nothing but a group of vile individuals. For projects that I have planned in my lifetime, such as the millennium bug, as a pastor in the church, I would have undoubtedly made budgets and estimations in advance, not only calculating the costs, but also include the development and outcomes of the events. And it goes without saying, to make estimations based on the best possible scenarios, assuming that this event will indeed happen. Thus, during that year, what filled my thoughts every day, it was how I would handle things if they actually happened. However, as I mentioned, the situation unfolded like the journey across Canada years ago. While I knew how things started, I had no idea it would develop to this extent. Even with all my knowledge and experience combined, every time, I still couldn't estimate the changes that may occur, because these things were entirely new to the world, such as the millennium bug, Planet X, Bitcoin, silver, and so on. Everything was very new. That's why I said I only knew the beginning of things, but different from how they would end. Therefore, if I had known the outcome of them early on, I wouldn't have executed more than half of my plans. This includes all the plans that God led us to carry out, during my lifetime. The reason is that when the situation unfolds and becomes severe, it often becomes like, once the bow is released, the arrow cannot be retrieved. Meaning that spilled water cannot be gathered, and the arrow that has been shot cannot be brought back. Similarly, every time God moved me to do something, even if I calculated various possible situations beforehand, however, on the first day or the first 10% of the process, it was already miscalculated and out of control. It was like that from the beginning, the first day and the first step. As I mentioned, when I was driving across Canada, I only traveled over 90 miles on the first day. I looked at the car's odometer, which can be set to 0 to calculate the total distance traveled, and I thought, I've only traveled over 90 miles. I still have over 3,000 miles to go. At that moment, I already wanted to give up. Having only traveled over 90 miles and reaching the Rocky Mountains, I was already pale-faced. I was driving alone in the icy and snowy landscape, crossing hundreds of miles and still unable to see the peak of the Rocky Mountains. All roads were frozen. I already wanted to turn back. However, my friends in Vancouver knew that I was heading to Toronto. I registered to attend a school there. Can I still turn back? Even if I'm willing to turn back, I can't attend my original school anymore. Since I was the only one, no one to consult with, there were also no mobile phones or internet back then. I could only ponder on my own while on the road. Actually, I was also thinking about one thing at the time. Why am I stepping on the gas pedal, driving a sports car, yet only cruising at a speed of about 20 kilometers per hour? Why is that? Thinking about this, I also felt a chill in my heart. Romans 8 verse 6. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace.
Until I hear the bell, and I will prevail. Oh, I won't surrender, no, I won't fail. Oh, for I am. I'm feeling like the world's turned on me, but I will not cease to exist. No, I'll say, oh, do your worst. I'm standing until I hear the bell, and I will prevail. Oh, I won't surrender, no, I won't fail. Oh, for I am invincible. Oh, I won't surrender, no, I won't fail. For I am invincible.